What's up, everybody? Let's try this again. Let's try this again. Um, Hang on. Um, Hold on. I'm checking my phone. Something's up with my mic. Not sure what it is. Can you guys hear me okay? Hang on here. I'm not sure what's going on. That's why I come on early so we can get rid of these technical issues. I'm not sure why. Can you guys hear me okay? Sounds way better. Okay. Yes, better now. Good. Yes, yes. You guys can hear me. Sounds better. Yes. Okay. The only okay. You guys can hear me. Okay. Great. Great. Awesome. Awesome. What's up, guys? Welcome. Aloha Tuesday. Thank you for joining us tonight on a special night. We moved our Wednesday night show till tonight. When can we commence with cesspool and what's up, George? Oh my gosh. Hey, I want to welcome Clubhouse in the house. They're simulcasting this on in the Clubhouse. If you guys don't have Clubhouse, someone post up the link, please, and get the app, guys. Get the Clubhouse app. Someone will be posting up an invite that we have a COVID-19 Hawaii talk room. That's a lot of exciting information. So yeah, lots of political excitement today, guys. Anyway, as you can see, Charlie's not here. He's hung up at work again. He called me. It's just going crazy at the airports, and so he's not going to be making it again tonight. But we got it. We got it covered. The villages here. We got Dr. Miscovich, Dr. Akiona. We're going to be talking about. Okay, there. Mara Hansen has just posted up the link to the Clubhouse. It's the Hawaii COVID-19 talk. Seriously, guys, go grab that link and download the app on your phone and jump on the group, guys. Get in the room. It's an amazing tool for all of us to understand what's going on with COVID, because not everything you hear on the local media is true. That's just the reality. So there's the link, guys. Go ahead and download it. It's free. It doesn't affect your phone, and that link will bring you right into our Clubhouse room, and it'll be fun. All right, it'll be fun, and lots of highly intelligent doctors, experts join us in the room, and we can learn so much from that Clubhouse. So anyway, like I said, tonight we got Dr. Miscovich, Dr. Akiona. We're going to be talking about that study that was just released by a hospital university that did a study of their employees, their healthcare workers. All right, Melissa, watching on YouTube on the big TV. Oh my goodness, I better watch my language if you're in front of Ohana. But we appreciate you guys joining us again. Right after tonight's show, there will be a post-show discussion in that group. Hashtag Grow the Village. So go ahead and download the link. Join us. Senator Kochi is on. Welcome, Senator Kochi. Appreciate you jumping in tonight. We'll be talking about about the study about the infectiousness of this Omicron variant, which goes beyond the 5 days. While we are seeing a reduction in cases throughout the country, in many locations, this virus is still around, and we still got to be careful. And so we'll talk about that tonight when Miscovich gets on. So the politics, right? I got to tell you, man, I know Senator Kalani English, former Senator Kalani English, very well. We've actually had him on our show a few times. Representative Ty Cullen, I know him very well. And to say that I was shocked and surprised would be an understatement. I got to tell you, these two fine gentlemen, I'm not sure. We got to assume everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but it doesn't sound good. Senator Kalani English had already resigned his post due to the effects of COVID that he was suffering and was affecting his work. Representative Ty Cullen resigned today, immediately, effective immediately. So, I'm not here to pass judgment. Um, it's just very shocking. And it really, really, just impacts the credibility of government. Not what we needed right now. But again, these two guys are my good friends. Uh, I pray for them and their families because it's the road is going to be bumpy going forward. So that's all I'm going to talk about that tonight. I saw the comments. So I'm just going to get that out and just share it. Yumi, they were indicted today by the feds for corruption, basically accepting bribes for things. So yeah, go check it out. Google it. It's all on the news. I'm very shocked, very, very, very surprised with these two gentlemen. So again, we're gonna continue to pray for them and their families. Justice will be served one way or the other, and I just hope that the impact is not just on these two guys; it's on their families, their friends, and it's just sad. It's sad, but it's just a shame. So anyway, let's get to the show, guys. Dr. Miscovich, can you say something? Because I'm having problems. I cannot hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay. That's
Hear
all
me
I
good?
needed. Hang on, because my audio, and I figured it out with one click of the button. Boom. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I've been hearing you the whole time.
Yeah, my mic was working. My pods was on the wrong setting in my computer, so it's all good. I can hear you loud and clear. You sound really clear. Like you, awesome. How you
Well,
doing, buddy?
hey, I'm okay, but I just heard your statement and I'm like, what the hell are you softening up on us? I'm just livid mad that these people are accepting money. I read through both of those complaints. I read through them. They're ridiculous. They're totally ridiculous that these people are getting $10,000 handed to them in envelopes and $5,000 and canceling bills. I mean, that are there. That is just outrageous from my perspective. So
Yeah, no, it is, and that it's difficult for me because, like I said, I know these guys, and I know that I'm getting a terrible echo. I know these guys, and I know them to be very, very honest guys, and it's just disappointing for me. It's so disappointing. I'm getting some major feedback. I'm not sure if it's. So hang on. Maybe it's my AirPods. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's just disappointing for me, man. Yeah, I definitely don't like what I read. Don't like what I read, but gosh, like I said, justice will prevail, and these people will pay the price. So,
yeah,
it seems so ridiculous that would even happen on passing a bill or killing a bill. I'm sure there's a lot more to this story than we know, and that will all come out um, as the investigation starts, to get released. So anyway, but we aren't supposed to talk politics, especially real politics. Okay, I don't know what the heck is going on, but hang on. I'm going, Dr. Akiona, I'm going to mute you. Okay. Let me see. Scott, can you say something, please? Because I
I
think it's
can say
coming from.
something. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah, okay. Yeah, it's coming from Dr. Akiona's. I'm not sure if you have like another thing going on with a speaker. No? Okay. Oh, it seemed to have gone away. All right. All right. Let's get to it. I asked you guys to come on tonight because a few days ago, first of all, the numbers are starting to appear to be going down. Dr. Tim Brown had an awesome spotlight yesterday, talking about the real uh, dangers of COVID. But anyway, numbers are going down. There's talk all over the country now that we're going to start lifting restrictions. I know some schools on the mainland are removing the mask restrictions for kids. The governor just announced tonight or this afternoon that no, they're not going to add the booster to the unsafe travels program. It's nothing's going to change. The lieutenant governor yesterday talked about possibly lifting all restrictions in March. But there was this study that came out a couple of days ago regarding the infectiousness of Omicron. That in fact the infectiousness goes beyond the 5 days, 6 days, 7 day, 8 day. So I kind of wanted to hear your guys' perspective on that, Doc. I know I sent you both the actual report. What are your thoughts, Dr. Miscovich? What are your thoughts?
Okay, I'll come out with my opening comments. It is so crystal clear, the events over the last 7 days and intensifying over the last week or the last 2 days is, and I wanted to say we should make this the topic of tonight's show, and that is, you're on your own. Don't look for any public official anywhere, anyhow, to do anything to support you any further. Basically, we are now all on our own. And essentially, what's happening is, they're going to toss out safe travels, so that's basically going to be, where the entire United States population can come here. And regardless of how high the disease is in the state and the positivity is, because, we still have, regions through the country where there's still high positivity rate and a lot of Omicron is still circulating. And so safe travel's gone. We're basically going to have all the mask mandates taken down. And, that follows up. We'll probably have, all the testing will go away. And it just really looks like everybody in leadership has given up on the pandemic. And it's very, very concerning because from my perspective, as Tim said, and the crew that I work with and talk with across our state, or almost all of them are on your show. Bottom line is that we've just crossed over the top of the pandemic in my mind. We think about it. We just had the worst spread of the pandemic, the worst case of hospitalizations, and it's also paralleling the highest number of deaths, literally that will be happening in many, I'm speaking generalizations. You could take pockets and say, well, not here, not there. But the bottom line is the disease massively affected the world. So we're still going to have more variants. We're still going to have, this disease is still going to ravage the Southern Hemisphere as the Southern Hemisphere will go into its winter. And we still have significant risk for variants that we're not aware of. So from my perspective, I can't, just like anybody, say for sure how bad they'll be, what form they'll come in, but will they happen? Yes, we know there will be more variants. So I think we're on our own. And as always has happened, if a new variant comes out, guess what? We'll do our typical response about a month after it's already here and spreading all through our community and go, oh, wait, maybe we should do something about it. So I'm going to just say to the public, just put up your own walls, put up your own defense, get your own N95s, do your own thing in your home, be prepared to be able to just deal with this on your own. Get yourself vaccinated, get yourself boosted, and that's all we can do. So that's kind of me getting that off my chest. And I'll come back and talk. I'll let Dr. Akiona give her opening talk, but I will talk more about what that data that you're referring to, Mel, is. But I'll let the good Dr. Akiona say something nice.
Thanks. Dr. Akiona? Yeah, let's start this off nice.
Do I have?
No, don't be nice. Just be the truth. It's true.
No, and one of the things that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Trust me, I am not. I'm an investigator by nature. But when I look at coincidences, when I start, and this is a glaring one for me, and I'd love to hear both of you. But we'll start with you, Dr. Akiona, after you do your opening comments. But the federal assistance for safe travels or unsafe travels will end in March. And I'm thinking, is it a coincidence that all of a sudden, right, our numbers, we cannot give you positivity rates. Oh, testing gets reduced. Oops, all of these things to fall into place. And again, this could be a total conspiracy, but the timing is so uncanny that in March the funding stops from the federal government, and in March I predict that this state will lift all restrictions from safe travels, because if we continue, the state's going to have to pick up the tab, and as you know, they don't want to spend the money. I could be totally wrong, but we can talk about that later. That's just one of the things that I wanted to chat about tonight. Dr. Akiona, what are your thoughts?
Oh, you can start off. Look, there's my nurse leaves me some plants sometimes, so we can start off with that. So eventually there's going to be flowers. So she leaves me future flowers. We have a running joke that she calls me the pandemic princess, that it's a pageant that only I entered because everybody else quit. No one else wants to run for this crown. We had a couple of interesting meetings, and just it's looking at what happened over the last year, what happened in the last 2 years. I stopped by the Department of Health, and so later on we can talk about it, but they gave me 600 of these guys because I saw that you had a test. So I did get some home test kits. We can talk about what that's all about. But yeah, we're looking at, I worked in research before, and then I worked in the state kind of setting. So I remember all of those kind of like soft and hard deadlines when fiscal years were going to turn over. And then with the military was like September, October. And then in UH system, it was around July. And then there are other kind of soft deadlines where you would kind of just intensely spend down all of your money because you didn't want to have anything left over at the end, or you could potentially lose it for the next year. And so, I was thinking about that as I'm listening to kind of like what's going on, because a lot of the testing money comes from the federal government. It's a reimbursement thing. So the state would have to pay for it, and then the feds would then reimburse us. And there's all these kind of like ways that they can talk around it. But, it's just, I think by any reasonable measure, it's been kind of glaringly negligent. It's just so much things that should have happened that it's just, and it hasn't. And you're right. It's kind of sad that we're 2 years, that we're in the third year, and feels like we're pretty much telling people you're on your own. And so we have some excess N95 masks that I'm handing to people as I'm testing them rapid. The rapid is positive, so I run the rapid PCR to confirm, and they're positive, and then I hand them that N95 and I say, I'm really sorry. I'm going to talk to you about some of the guidelines that the CDC and the DOH is kind of giving out. I'm going to tell you that as a physician, I didn't agree with the 5-day stuff. And even as other physicians are saying, there are a lot of caveats we can talk about, and we can, say, well, technically speaking, you're supposed to be masked at all times. And, it really covers us for 10 days. But the reality was regular people who are regular employees of regular companies are being forced back to work at 5 days. Any physician worth their salt didn't agree with that. Like, that was, especially knowing so little in the beginning times of Omicron. So, as time evolved, we saw clearly that letting people back at 5 days was wrong. That we had to have a smarter approach, and that there had to be so much more support, because, a lot of what we do is education, kind of telling people what to look for and how to utilize whatever small amount of resources we can manage. So, I'll start off with the future flowers, because I really do think, I think there's good people out there. So there's the village, there's good doctors speaking up. There's a lot of people. So I feel like we got to count our blessings, but it doesn't mean that we can't also kind of talk about the many elephants in the room that, I feel like it just kind of does justice and helps us all be better people if we just talk about how things need to be improved and what failures we kind of have seen and have witnessed over the past 2 years already. So I know there's probably a lot that you want to cover today. But that 5-day study kind of just reconfirmed. I mean, the study you sent us just confirmed what we already knew. And I don't know where you want to go from there.
Well, I think, because we have been hearing for a long time from different doctors, including both of you, but Dr. DeWorkin and Brown and O'Carroll and Chong Hansen, all of these people, and beyond our shores to other doctors across the country. It was interesting how the CDC was able to make that change to 5 days. We all know the reason, right? We all know that it was the airline industry that sent the letter. Delta Airlines and a few others jumped on because the airlines industry was crippled because they were forced to cancel thousands of flights. Airports were a mess, and the only way out of it was to reduce the quarantine or isolation time for COVID positives. They were already talking about that for healthcare workers in essential situations or emergency situations where they didn't have staff. So they was going to bring back healthcare workers, nurses, but they would only be able to operate as long as they didn't have symptoms. And they passed the 5 days. They already masked up and they were in the spacesuits, but they would only be working with COVID positive patients. So they didn't think it was going to create that much of a problem. So I think one reasonable person can accept that. But when we jumped over to the airline industry and did it for the airline industry, and then of course for everyone else, we had a lot of infectious people going back to work, but a lot of infectious kids going back to school. And that was what, as you say, we all knew what was going to happen. And I love what you said. Any doctor worth their salt did not agree with the 5 days. Well, there were a couple of doctors that said that it was fine. And now, how many people got sick because of it? How many people died because of it? That's the unknown.
Well, Mel, let me comment. And people can go back on my Facebook and find it somewhere because I don't post all my CNN time, but I post some of the important ones. But the day CDC announced that, I was on CNN that evening, and I came out, I was pissed, and I came out angry, and I said, this was a business decision. This is not a decision. It's a surprise, and it's going to have its consequences. I mean, from day one, all of us who have been living our life for this and know the science were just in disbelief that they would come totally out of the blue with no warning and do something like this. And then when you look at that weird presentation of how they presented it about what to do and what not to do, it was pathetic. And I've said this, and I'll say it now. Rochelle Walensky, the head of the CDC, should have been gone long ago. She has been dismal as a CDC director. The CDC needs to be redone with real people that can communicate well and manage well. You have a bunch of these wonks that basically never seen patients in their lives and are just kind of half political and going through this little political mirage of what their work is, and they're totally out of reality, right? Now, there are good people in CDC. There are great field people, and there are people that go out there, but those people don't get a voice. It's the Walenskys and some of these other leadership that are sitting up there that are trying to basically, kiss some political ass to raise up higher, to fight up into those positions, and they have created death. They have caused more deaths than they've saved. Way back from the beginning, when they didn't send the right testing kits out to the country, if we really have that commission, they're talking about a bipartisan commission similar to what the 9/11 commission was. It's going to come together and start studying the United States' response to COVID. Then this will come up. I can already predict you right from the beginning. Number one thing that's going to be at the top of the list of how we screwed up, CDC. It's going to be number one, if they're being honest. And let me also say something that everybody should find interesting, and I can give you the article to listen. But we had a really, really, one of the articles that when you've lived this, you look at and go, wow. The Lancet, which is the equivalent like the British Medical Journal, came out with an article about a week ago, and it tried to get to the root cause for a couple of scenarios. And people who follow my website or my Facebook, I threw this question out. Why? How did we fail so much as a country, right? United States, we just failed. We have the highest death rate of all the civilized countries. You just go across the hospitalization rates, almost every number that there is that shows how poorly you've handled the disease. We're number one. Well, Lancet went in 2019. There was an article, or there was a study that showed and ranked in what countries were most prepared for a pandemic, right? Who was most prepared? And this was before COVID was on the map. Number one, United States. Number two, the UK. And those end up being the countries that failed probably the most, not were most prepared. And so they took that and they looked at all the rankings of all these countries, and then they started to try to do enough of a technical analytic to say, like, well, Vietnam was way down in the bottom. How did Vietnam jump way up here and do so well relative to these countries that have so much? And, you can use scenarios like that. Then what they also did is, how do you have one country here, like in Africa, or one in Europe, and then the country that's literally juxtaposed geographically, and this one's data is 10 times better than this one's data? And then they went in deeper and they looked at the data and they started to say, well, okay, let's look at the things. Let's look at obesity. Let's look at race. Let's look at income. Let's look at location. Let's look at weather. Let's look at all these kind of things. And guess what? Didn't correlate. All right? Did not correlate. So, final conclusion, to jump to the end. I don't want to, it's like watching these Netflix miniseries. You want to have people tell you the conclusion if you have to go through 8 shows to find out the end. But I'm gonna give you the final answer. And guess what? The village knows the answer before I even tell them. Number one, mistrust, and it also goes with miscommunication from government. Number one, distrust in the government. Number two is the people's focus on themselves versus the collective group, family, community. So essentially, that when there was an ability to measure that the people had a community feeling versus not, that was it. And guess what? We've known that forever. Yeah, we've known that forever. And if I go back to the very early phases of the pandemic, when we were the only group out there testing, and hell, we were predicting what was happening with this disease 3-4 months before the CDC ever even came out with it. Loss of taste and smell, we announced that 4 months before CDC had it. And I could just go on and on. And that's when the politicians were starting to warble a little bit about saying, oh, look how great our numbers in. Because remember, early on, we were in really pretty good shape. As people were out in the field, and Dr. Akiona will attest to that, I said this, and again, you can go back historically and look at the 500 times I've been on freaking news and TV over this. I gave the credit to the people of Hawaii. Has nothing to do with any government, political, anything like that, nothing. So any success that has happened in this state is due to the people caring and trying to follow through. So that's a long-winded way for me to just talk about something that's really a critical finding that eventually, hopefully, we find is a analytic. And I would love for our state to do the same type of analysis. No chance. They will never analyze what they did right or wrong, because all they'll do is run around and do high fives and pass each other $500 in envelopes.
Yeah, there's definitely no shortage of of them telling each other how good a job they're doing. I mean, that's kind of what the press conferences are all about. Letting everybody know that all their colleagues have done such an amazing job. But I think you bring up a good point. The one thing that separates us from all the rest of the world really is that Aloha Spirit. And I think generally speaking, you disregard all those people that are out there telling people not to wear masks or fighting for their rights. Take them out. The vast majority, I believe, in this state continue to care about other people. I believe that. I have to believe that majority of the people in our state still have a genuine concern for the safety of others. That is why they are going to go out and wear the mask and not go into gatherings. And again, there are some that don't give a damn and they end up getting sick or spreading the virus. But I think for the most part, so you bring up a good point. The mahalo really should be to the people that have been sacrificing for going on 3 years now to keep our numbers at a, compared to other places in the country. But you cannot discount the fact that we've had over 1,000 people die. You cannot discount the fact that we've had thousands of people get sick and are suffering today because of long haul. And we had Angela Keen on last night sharing her story. And it's quite a remarkable story. So, yeah, the damage is not limited to the numbers of hospitalizations, deaths, and cases. It goes well beyond that because there's that undocumented long haulers, which I think by your estimate, Doc, 40 to 50% will have some sort of permanent disability that maybe will prevent them from going back to work. So the wake of destruction or damage from this COVID is real. And I hate when people minimize that. The other thing, Doc, and as you were on the screen, I was looking at my screen. I can see Dr. Akiona when the camera is not on her, but we get to see her. Well, I do. I don't know if you get to, Scott, but you can see how tired she is, right, Doc? We can see you. The people in the field are exhausted. So let me just hear it from you, Doc Akiona, because you are in the field day in, day out. You're in the boonies. You're everywhere else. How do you feel when our government leaders say we're in a good place? Guys, we're doing so much better than the mainland. We're in a good place. So how does that make you feel? Because you are out there pounding the pavement every single day. You see devastation from this disease, and how does it make you feel, really?
I think my daughter's watching, so we'll keep it a little bit more PG. She knows that I can be pretty scary. I think the first year of the pandemic, I was pretty scary. So, I'd be like, Mom's mad. And I got better at it feels like you live in so this is what cognitive dissonance is, when like what you see and what you know just does not in any way logically fit together. And it's just this constant gaslighting that at least I have I think the important thing, and this is something that we talked about in Clubhouse, I think, but it's kind of like you find your anchors. You got to have those anchors because, moments like that, it's, I have good colleagues and they're kind of scattered. They're in different fields, so they see different parts of the care continuum. Some of them, I have one of my really good friends is a transplant surgeon, so she sees the other side of it. So when people were passing away and they had donated their organs, and she was flying in, there's all these rules around it. Another doctor has to pronounce them dead, and then she has to harvest, and then they have to zoom out. So she was seeing kind of, we're talking about kind of the weird, how we both kind of wore the scars a little bit different, because I was I told her I was frantically trying to keep people even out of the hospital, because I told her I know what our capacity is. It's not great. I don't even want my colleagues in the hospital to have to worry about that. And meanwhile, she's seeing them when things are they're all done. So, and we both have kids, they're best friends and they're the same age. And we're, how do we talk to our kids about this when, it's clear that the leadership either frankly doesn't care about us, or they're just so just out of touch with everything. Like, how do we help them grow up and trust adults again? I don't know, because I just heard testimony from a bunch of people who are like against testing and have all these conspiracy theories about vaccines. And I can tell you that I am, and Dr. Miscovich is, and this is why I work with him, we're dedicated to protecting those people as well. So just as much as all of the other non-ridiculous people who are kind of sitting there trying to figure out how to, get their kid to school, keep their kid in school, stay at work, not get COVID, do their grocery shopping, plan their life around so many unknowns, trying to do the best they can and make the best decision in the moment. And then being told by the governor, by the mayor, anybody that, just make smart choices and that's all it'll take, and it's become so just dissonant with what you see something in our community. We still see, like, it's hard to get care, it's hard to get stuff, it's hard. What is the cost of long-term disability if you live on the Big Island? Is it any different than Oahu? It might be. We have not great public transportation. We have, we have so many different barriers just to regular life. And so when you try to protect your family and protect yourself and protect your community from stuff, it does, I think, feel like a failure when they're saying it's all good and you're looking around and it's not looking so good. Like, how could we have done better? And I have to keep reminding people, majority of us, you couldn't have done anything better. And I try to figure out ways for you guys to stay and work safely. Try to do everything you can, but so much of the responsibility belongs above us. And so, we didn't have the safety nets that we thought we would have as a great country. So I am tired, and majority of it is just kind of the realization, the really hard realization. And I think maybe some of you guys knew this a while, that, our country isn't doing as great as we sold ourselves to be doing. And it's frustrating, but I think that it actually is going to motivate, hopefully, the next generation. I think, there's so much that can be done at the grassroots level, and where, you can see that just when we used to go out in the community people are the ones advocating for their own rights. Once you arm them with the education and you arm them with what kind of tools we think would be legitimate and good for them, they go get it. And I think that that's probably why even though I feel tired, I don't feel as beat down as I did the first year, because I see pockets of resistance. And we just make sure that the word gets to everybody, right? So if somebody is questioning that 5-day, the sudden change in the 5-day quarantine and isolation, then we make sure that everybody understands why we're questioning that 5-day. If one person's having a hard time with unsafe travels, we make sure everybody understands what the problems are with unsafe travels and what the concerns are. And I think that is why we'll always give time. Like, at the end of the day, we'll eat a little later.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. I think, I think, especially for our villagers, as the messages that I get. I just had one today, in fact, that, this show has, in this one viewer's mind, has kept her head above water. That's exactly how she said it. Not because of Charlie and I, but because of the guests, like you folks that always make the time to show up and share. So yeah, and I know I hate asking, to be honest, because I know how you must feel, the both of you, after a day's worth of work. And you're seeing the same thing we're seeing coming out of our government. It's got to be frustrating for you all, and we appreciate you guys so much. You did mention the study. I wanted to really touch on that real quick. And let me go ahead and share this screen here. I'm just going to go up real quick. I'm not going to.
Dr. Mina.
Basically, right here. between January 2nd and January 12th, 309 total rapid antigen tests done on 260 separate healthcare workers on day 5 through 10. Overall, 43% of all rapid antigen tests were positive between days 5 and 10. The greatest percent positive rapid antigen test was noted among healthcare workers returning their first test on day 6, 58%. I'm going to go down to the bottom and just get the conclusion. This is what the conclusion is. These results indicate that a substantial proportion of individuals with COVID-19 are likely still contagious after day 5 of illness, regardless of symptom status. Early liberation from isolation should be undertaken only with the understanding that inclusion of individuals on day 6 through 10 of illness in community or work settings may increase the risk of COVID-19 spread to others, which in turn may undermine the intended benefits to staffing by resulting in more sick workers. What more can I say?
Yeah. Mel, the CDC's own study 2 days after they made that change came out and showed that, 36% of people were still testing positive on day 5. I mean, that was their own study, and it had a far bigger population of individuals in it. And so it's like, give me a break, So they're saying, and you just put your hands up and say, and then they would be hemming and hawing where Walensky would come on and Fauci would come on and say, well, and then they changed it like 4 or 5 days after that. Well, yeah, we do recommend if you can't take a test at the end of that 5 days. Come on, man. The cat's out of the bag. They threw out all that garbage information and it's just garbage where we're once you tell people, oh, do this, you can't tell them to go back and do something that's more restrictive. So we screwed up. So how many people will get COVID because of that? How many people will literally die because of that across the country that's our size? It's inevitable. You can ask any epidemiologist. They'll figure out that mistake will cause spread and will cause death. All right. How many? Who knows? Now, basically, the data is the data. We all agree with that data. They probably never should have gone below 7 days at best, because if you look at that as each day goes on, it goes. And they should have had you take a test. Since we're now pushing to push home tests out a lot, you should be taking a test. And that's a whole nother story that I think Dr. Akiona will talk about, which is, horrendous communication about how to use home tests. Totally failure at the federal level. Oh, we'll send home tests out, but how do you use them and how do you not use them?
I never even got mine yet. I don't know if you got, I ordered the first day possible. I never even got the tracking number.
Yep. We ordered them the first day because I wanted to see how long it was going to take. Yeah. And then it was like, well, how's that work? You're getting 4 tests.
Did you get it?
Nope.
Yeah. See, I know. And then there was the big discussion about equity and just the idea of having access, first of all, but then having it actually matter enough, because most people out here, 4 doesn't help their family at all. So it just, and we should have been better at this point, getting the distribution down, getting the manufacturing down, all of these stuff. These are stuff that we used to be pretty good at. And so
yeah. But Dr. Akiona, were you going to talk about the failures of those tests and how to use them and how you have to explain to people how to use a rapid test? Yeah. I mean, there's such failure in our federal government and even in our state government anywhere about what is that test that they're throwing out and spending billions and billions and billions of dollars. I mean, do we like having more tests? Yes. We wish that they should have done that like the UK was giving people, sending everybody tests a year ago, 16 months ago. And now we're getting tests just now. And they come with no information on how to appropriately use them.
Yeah, no, and I think that, you know, you really look at that, I see that as low-hanging fruit, because education in and of itself is something simple. Okay, so to be honest, like, I think this is a recurring theme where we talk about all of the kind of communication snafus that the CDC has had. I mean, early on when they were saying, you know, talking about masking and that you didn't need to, or you know, you didn't, they're always thinking about the wrong scenarios, like, oh, we don't want people to like buy up all of the masks, so we're going to say you don't need to, or I don't know, I don't understand what their strategy really was. And so, but this is really basic low-hanging fruit. I mean, when you talk about consistent education that you can get that's simple, I gotta say that's one of the things that our Department of Health as well, like our state Department of Health, we have a one guy that works on the Native Hawaiian group, CJ Johnson and Telly Matangi, those two. I mean, CJ has he has a actual, like a slide deck that that translates. He was showing it, like they're kind of beta testing it, and it helps translate basic so if we have health messages that we want to get out, he has people actually live translating it so that we can kind of see it in like a number of different languages. And so, you know, it's like we have the tools, we just have to get them the message. And so what was happening was, you know, a lot of people were getting the home test, they were buying them off the shelves. And so a lot of the partners that we test or vaccinate at their site, they're asking us, they're like, you know, all these people are coming and they're talking to us and they're having all these questions. And so the week that I spent at it was Cisco. Like there are people that were coming through. They were talking to me about how it is in other countries. How, like in Germany, for example, he says, I can go around the corner. The man who was making bread just last year now is a testing person. And so he's like, very, very simple. You know, it's a simple algorithm. They know the basics. And then if it is harder, they will call, you know, another central person, and it kind of gets triaged in that way. He goes, but very basically speaking, they can tell you how, you know, some general education about rapid tests. And so he was picking my brain about the more technical stuff, but he was saying everybody on every corner store, this is something that, you know, it's fairly simple because they got like a general education. This was given to everybody, and you could access this kind of, he's like, both the information and the test very easily. And, you know, I didn't even want to tell them what it was like in our country. And this is just January. So no, December. So, I mean, it's hard because, you know, basically what we're saying now, it's not too late. I don't think it's too late. Is Doc was talking, because at some point he was saying kind of like some suggestions that he was giving for New Mexico, I think it was, you know, like every testing center should be equipped with the following thing. You know, we should be expecting them to give the following very basic education that would kind of talk about your risk. So as a person taking the test, you don't know if you're positive or negative yet if you're taking that PCR, but here's what your health risk looks like, you know. And then, so if you're positive and you're high risk, then we kind of, you know, here are some options for you, and here's where you could go to get those treatment options. The home test kind of opened up a bag of worms. It should have been a good bag of worms, because it really should have been that people now had access to the stuff that they're standing in line for. But I think without that key piece, without that good communication and education, that, you know, it became more hassle. So, you know, I think people were, I don't know, Doc, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's too late to kind of turn the ship a little bit. But I mean, now we're working on access, so we're getting these out.
No,
information really matters.
Oh, it's never too late. But let me say this to the village and say this to everybody and ask and tell me, have you heard anybody look at you and be honest with you like this? Okay, here's your home test as Dr. Akiona holds it up. That test is good for maximum about 24 hours. It's pretty solid to give you a 12-hour window that you're not spreading the disease. But it only is maximum 24 hours. After 24 hours, if you think you have symptoms, or if you are going to go around someone high risk, you got to take another test. So there is not straightforward information for people to know how limited the time is that test clears you from being from not being contagious or spreading. 24 hours. That's one thing. If they were really honest with everybody, then they would have started that and said it over and over. Okay, home test 24 hours, home test 24 hours. So mark your clock, and then if it's after 3 o'clock the next day, and you took a 3 o'clock the next day, and you get a little snibbly nose, well, guess what? You need another test because that test is expired. You're done. Your validity from being negative, it's gone. Okay, it's a 24-hour window at best. Simple.
But you know, Doc, and I had a call today from a friend of mine. Their whole house is COVID positive. A couple of them are pretty sick. But this is the message they got. She called me because she was a little confused because the Department of Health told them that they have to quarantine for 5 days, and then they got a mask for 5 days. They can go out. I said, well, you could probably take a test before you go back out in the community. And she goes, no, the Department of Health told me I cannot test because I'm going to be positive for 30 days. I don't want to go into that discussion again because we just had it the other night. But the problem, my point is this, is that the communication, the information that is being provided to these people. So in their head, they think that they cannot test for 30 days because they're going to be positive when they're not really positive. So I explained to her exactly how you explained to me about the rapid antigen. So she felt better. But again, my point is that's the information they're getting from the Department of Health, the authority on health for our county and for our state. And that is the problem because you're getting people that's going to go out with a mask still infectious. And that goes back to the study that we just shared.
And that's how, I mean, they kind of just disregard a lot of what we say. And I think that was what our own DOH said. They were like, we had to go with the CDC, when they recommended it because they, everybody would have just ignored us anyways and been like, well, the CDC says. And I was like, now you know what I feel like. I was like, now you know what I feel like when I say is right. And then they go, oh no, but the DOH told me, and you're wrong. And he was like, it's like,
but that's, that's the thing, right? Because we're lay people. We're not doctors, but we can understand English and we can read and, we can understand. What I don't get is how no one has held our state. And, I know a lot of people talk about the national level. I have absolutely no connection to pick up the phone and call someone in Washington, D.C. I don't, but we have the local representatives here that should be asking these questions of our administration. And that hasn't happened. Everything that comes out of that administration about how good we are, we're in a good place, we got to open up, we're going to make a lot of money, all this tax revenue, blah, blah. You notice in the last couple of weeks, all the legislative bills coming out is to increase fines, whether it's for fireworks or for cell phone tickets or for seatbelt tickets. Everything is building money revenue. That's and for COVID, no one is asking about, hey, Doc, hey, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Char, I just read a study that says we're not safe after 5 days. Hey, Dr. Char or LG, I have a hard time calling him doctor. I apologize. But LG, I just heard Dr. So-and-so mention that we got to be careful. No one's doing that. They have free reign, and the policy is being made based on this, I won't say false, but manipulated information. And that, I think, is where we have a major problem. Real quick, I gotta do this because Scotty has asked a question again. Scotty, I love you, my brother, but this is his question. I've asked a million times and would like an answer. Other than vaccines, what meds do you currently have to treat vaccinated people who are in the hospital? Listen, Scotty, wait. That infers that your questions were never answered in the past.
And they have been doing a good job. The people in the comments, they've been doing a really good job kind of calming.
Yeah, but when I see a comment like this is what I see, right? Because I try my best to get these questions asked and answered. This question has been asked a million times. It's been answered a million times. But this is the last time I'm going to ask this question, Scotty. And this will be it. Okay, because
Okay.
I'm really I'm over it. It's we've asked this question. It's been answered. So go ahead, Doc.
I'll give you the express version, Scotty, so that you can and Scotty, there will be a test after this. Okay, you will have a quiz after this. I'm going to go through the real express version. Dr. Akiona, you can correct me because I'm going to go fast if I'm missing anything. Okay, so if you're sitting around and you don't have any risk whatsoever, and you're really, really, really healthy, and you get COVID, most of the time you're probably not going to get any treatment. All right. Well, let's take it now, and I'm going to walk you through all the options here. Now, say you are at high risk and you are not having any distress. I know my patients, when they talk to us, I want them on an aspirin if they're not on an aspirin because there is clotting. Now, there are some debates about whether we should be calling them in another type of next level oral medication for reducing platelets and clotting. We could talk about that, but we're going to get too technical. But that's something that people can do. Then the next thing after that is you get more serious problems. Maybe you're starting to cough or wheeze. We do have a nice study that's come out to show that an inhaler that we give to asthmatics that does have some steroids in it can sometimes be helpful. We also know that we could possibly start the medicine fluoxamine, which is kind of in an antidepressant range, but it does have some help, and it's safe, right? Now, you're maybe higher risk. Well, maybe we put you on Paxlovid. Maybe we call you in the pill form of the medication that has about a 90% efficacy. Well, right now it's very hard to find because it's all being hoarded by the hospitals and not being distributed across the state, which is a whole nother show. But as time goes on, we'll start have more supply where we're going to be able to just send a prescription to the pharmacy. Big time difference, right? Big difference to help. And then the next thing is we'll also have the IV Sotrovimab. It's the monoclonal antibody. If you're a little bit more high risk and we really think you might have a chance of going in the hospital, we're going to set you up right away to get a quick IV infusion of Sotrovimab as an outpatient. We'll say we can't get Sotrovimab, and I see you in there, Scotty, with Valcyclovir, but no, it is a good antiviral. But basically, we now have approval to give Remdesivir, which can be given as an outpatient. You do it IV 3 days in a row, 3 consecutive doses. Okay, so those are the outpatient. Good look, Ann just dropped up another one, and that is kind of more of a prevention. Evishield is another one. Say you are someone that's like got your immune system wiped out from chemotherapy, or you're really finding like perhaps you have recently just had a transplant or something like that, then you should be put on Evishield, which is a monoclonal that gives you a 6-month protection. Now, it's going to be too detailed, Scotty, to talk about all the hospital treatments, but generally, Remdesivir is definitely going to be given. You're going to be put on steroids right away. We know what the dose is that you're going to get, and you're also going to be put on types of blood thinners. And then the rest of the treatment is all going to be based on all types of other things that could happen. So that's really, and then the most important thing is,
You know what? I lost you, Doc. I don't know what happened. I cannot hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you really well.
Oh my God, I lost that part. I'm gonna have to go watch the replay just to hear what you said. I'll watch the replay. But that is
no.
Oh, it wasn't just me. It was everybody. Okay. Something
Okay.
happened. Something happened. Must have
This
been.
is
Must
good.
have been. Must have
This is
been.
where you're my hero, though. So
They're at,
and
okay.
the thing is, like
Can
I
you
said,
repeat the? Can you repeat the last sentence? No one heard it. Everybody did. No one heard it.
I mean, do you want to tell them what you did, or do you want me to?
You tell them what I did.
Yeah, because I always see like Scotty asking the questions, and I've been, I watch and I read, and I feel like the village has been pretty good about explaining, that kind of very gently too, that, we go to medical school for a significant amount of our life, and then we do like thousands of hours of study. It's not a secret. It's not like some kind of conspiracy. The hospital treatments that you're going to get are going to be highly dependent on your condition, on why you're there. Like you said, a lot of people are going to get it, but not everybody presents the same way. And as we kind of progress from beta through delta through Omicron, the presentation was so different. And so you had people, gasping for air and, being prone on high flow oxygen, and we were blasting them with all kinds. I mean, when you're at that point and you're kind of very scarily sick, we really do throw a lot of medicines at you. I don't think it's appropriate for us to sit here and like try and tell you what like 16 billion hours of medical study kind of means, because we're trained to do this. We have kind of our algorithms in our head. So what Doc gave you was a very good summary of what we in general try to do. It's so much more than that. And I think
that
what I
and that
said to him was to mute so that you still think it's a secret, and he did it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. All right.
Sorry.
I
was
just,
me.
I
Not a secret.
I can
It's-
promise you that's going to be the last time you ever hear that question again. And Scotty, I kind of disappointed that apparently he was trying to test you. He said,
Yeah,
he
don't
said,
do
good,
that.
good job, Doc. I was testing you. And you know what? That just took about 10 minutes off of our time that we could have been providing quality info to our viewers. So if you're going to do that, don't do it.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm
No,
not
no,
talking
no,
to you. I'm talking to
no.
Scotty
Oh,
because
okay.
he said he asked the question because he was testing you.
Yeah,
Like
but yeah,
this is
and
not we're not here if to test our guests, and I made that very clear that we're not here to do that. We're here to get information. And again, now I'm wasting time explaining what that's just not cool because we have asked that question so many times. And
yeah.
if you're testing the doc to see if his answer is going to change from episode to episode, don't do that. Don't get upset, Scotty. Don't get upset if your question never gets asked ever again on our show. Okay? I still love you, buddy. I still
He
love
still
you. But
he still got
we're
like
not
a
gonna
good
do
a
that.
good thing. Because I
We're
mean,
not
like
gonna
I
do that.
really Doc's still muted in this.
Listen, guys. I mean, maybe it's funny, but for me, you guys have taken out an hour of your time so many times for us in the village, docs, two of you, and many others, and you guys don't deserve that. You guys don't deserve to be asked a question to test your knowledge. No, that's bullshit. I'm gonna call it bullshit, and you will never see any questions again like that. As long as I'm the host of this damn show, and it is my show. So, I'm done, and I'm pissed. But I still love you, Scotty, and I appreciate your input. But man, don't do that. Just don't do that. Anyway, I'm pissed because the Steelers ain't in the goddamn Super Bowl either. But I got my Steelers mug.
Yeah.
I don't have all that fancy stuff like you, Doc.
Who's going to be our quarterback next year?
I think it's going to be it won't be Dwayne Haskins. It's going to be oh man, what the hell's the other guy's name?
From Pitt?
The guy from the Vikings before. He was with the Vikings.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, Louise. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I was hoping it would be Aaron Rodgers, maybe Mariota, but whatever. Yeah. Anyway, guys, it's 8:00. I apologize for taking that chunk of time out, but we tomorrow's my grandma's service, so we won't have a show tomorrow night. And I appreciate you guys all the nice words of condolence. She was 102 years old. She's lived a solid life. She was an old, tough Portuguese lady that used to whip our asses when we were young growing up. That's how we learned respect back then. Because if you didn't respect, you can lick it. Like my grandma actually, by today's standards, should be in prison for family abuse. But I appreciate that woman and all that she's done. So, any. I mean, Doc, what's the prognosis going forward? And we'll end with this. And I know it's late, and I know I was hoping to get you guys out here by 8 o'clock, but I'll give you guys a chance. Dr. Akiona, what is your prognosis going forward as it relates to COVID in Hawaii? And you know, I want to be optimistic, but I also want to be real.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I think optimism has a place. I think optimism is helpful to keep us moving forward one small step at a time because I think, if you look to the left and you look to your right, everybody's getting, in one way, a fatigue, fatigue of something, whether it's masking, it's just all of the mixed messaging we're getting, or they're just family just within our own families having just such polarized conversations, even just the fact that we cannot have some very, very basic normal conversations with some people, and so a lot of change really, really quickly. So you know I a part of my brain always is ready to move to Australia or New Zealand. I'll be honest. I always looking at where they're doing better, and to be honest, part of it is we just it's just that it exists, that a better plan exists. So anytime people try to corner us and try and tell you like, nah, you couldn't have been stopped, it couldn't have been done better, blah blah blah, it's wrong because you can look just across the Pacific, or you can look, so just knowing that there are people out there that know, like even Dr. Jerome Kim, I follow his stuff, and so just different groups. It's always good to just look at science and realize that things can get better. And then I think the optimism, I try to save in small pieces, so that days that you have that just do not feel great at all, when this most recent surge was hard because we were like slammed, just basically sun up to sundown, just calling pauses and hearing all the misinformation and the misunderstandings, like you're saying, like, people believing in their head because they were told one thing, and then having to re-educate them, and then how not to get frustrated with that, and so anytime that I feel very, very tired, I try to find some optimism in small things, like, people are still willing to listen to us at late at night. I mean, we did, so it's some pretty heavy stuff, and it's not easy to kind of give up an hour of your time to just kind of sit here and talk to two people that I know one day we hope to meet you guys in person, but to date, a lot of you we have never met in person. So it means a lot to us. I think it keeps us going. I know it keeps me going around the Big Island, and it's a lot. So I'm hopeful. Cautiously optimistic again. I believe I was cautiously optimistic when the vaccines were coming out. I was still cautiously optimistic when the keiki stuff started coming out. I put in my pre-order for the baby vaccines. So that means that it's coming soon. So pretty soon, ages 6 months and up will get protected. There's a lot more engagement within the community that I'm seeing. So I'm, the idea that we're not carrying the load by ourselves, and that it's more of us are showing up to build to build our defenses, it does actually feel a lot more optimistic than a year ago. I still don't think we're out of the woods. I think there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. There's still a lot of dead weight that we're carrying. A lot of the leadership stuff that we're, I think one of the hardest things I'm gonna have a harder time, I struggle with, is the idea that we have to wait until the next administration's voted in for anything meaningful to happen. So in the meantime, just try and find your small space to raise heck and protect yourself and all the people around you. So
God bless you, man. God bless you. God bless you. I know there was a couple of questions about Jerome Kim, Dr. Jerome Kim's. By the way, we are working on getting him on the show. He had been traveling for the last couple of weeks, so but we are looking at getting him on the show very soon. But about how Korea's approach, South Korea has this crazy idea that they're going to let Omicron run through, create herd immunity, and hopefully it's the last variant. But if you understand what Dr. Jerome Kim said, he says we must be cautious. We have to be cautious, and thinking that Omicron is going to be the vessel for herd immunity, that in fact many more variants will come. We already know about the variant of Omicron that is very more infectious, and it's already in Denmark and I forget where else. So I just wanted to touch on that. I didn't want to interrupt you guys, but Dr. Kim has maintained his stance that we need to be very careful, and that allowing Omicron to run through our communities in the hope that it will create the herd immunity that we need is not a wise choice. That was Dr. Kim's position. So yes, I did read it, guys. I know somebody said, oh, he's too busy to read it. No, I actually went back and read it that night after the last show because I am always intrigued by what he has to say. Dr. Miscovich, let it go, buddy. Both barrels, don't mute. Let them go, buddy.
Okay, I won't. I promise. And, Scotty, I do love you, man. That's okay. I do love you because I think when you're asking me those questions, you're basically just wanting me to update on if there's anything new. So maybe it's just the way you're wording them, but I don't mind because I'll answer questions anywhere, anyhow. All right, I'm going to say something I haven't said before, and I want this to be spread, and then I'll do a closing. When you look at some of the tragedies right now, we still know we're going to be still burying our friends and relatives over the next 2 months from the surge. It's still going to happen, right? So that's a tragedy, and many of them are preventable, which is what makes that more of a tragedy. Okay, and then, with all these bozos saying, oh, we only want to focus on hospitalizations, what we've missed is 2 major segments. We saw a lot of it on this show. We see it in Clubhouse, which is long COVID. We're going to want to transition to talk about how many people and what is the plan. And now, because failure at the government level, focusing on hospitalizations, but not trying to focus on reducing the amount of disease and balancing economy and disease, has created the disability. So what is our government going to do now that they're going to be jacking all of our taxes up and trying to collect more money, and they're sitting on $1 billion, two or more of post-pandemic riches? Find a way to get those people that have had long COVID, whose lives are going to be different. And Mariel, absolute great point. The freaking orphan children and the people who lost the breadwinner and the people who lost people. Find a way to take care of them, to take care of those people with all of these monies, instead of trying to put them into pet projects and forget like there was any responsibility by our government and our leadership for these things that happened. Do not forget about the people with long COVID and the people who are the orphan children. We should be creating a whole organization that comes together, and don't just basically take only, oh, let's get a big donation. Yeah, we can do that. Would be really nice if we get donations, but point back to the people who had some responsibility and make them stand up and do something. And those are the legislative people who failed us. So that's number one. So the second thing, yeah, and Heidi, I agree, man, remember when you cast your votes, that's for sure. Then the next thing is, Dr. Akiona knows I've been the president and founder of like the work comp doc organization here in the state with, some other people. And I've gone to the legislature. I've already had 12 bills that I've had passed over the last 10 years, trying to fight for workers' rights in a system that's really skewed in workers' comp. Well, I want there to be some form of support. I wish it could have been in legislation, but it's too late, to support the healthcare workers that have been disabled from COVID by being there to save our lives. And number two, we're going to see a significant amount of PTSD from our healthcare workers, post-traumatic stress disorder. Can you imagine the psychological effects of some of these people who have been working these ridiculous shifts and have to work 80 hours a week, and they just go in and watch unnecessary death again and again and again. So and as a guy who has lived fighting for the injured people, if anybody even knew how skewed this system is towards the employer and insurance companies who are making a mint off of it, that they will fight night and day if a ICU nurse or an ER nurse or doc or someone or the ward clerk comes in and is saying, I can't sleep at night. I think about this all the time, and I'm stressing, or I've been drinking a little bit more. You know what? They need to be shown the opportunity for treatment, and it has to be understood that it's from this. And yes, Dr. Sherry there knows what I'm saying. And next year, everybody will forget about it. And the way the work comp system works, they'll make you try to go prove your case, right? Instead of accepting it right now, because these people have been through hell, and they have been through hell saving the lives of everybody they can, right? And so that is something that I would love to encourage. I wish we could get it tucked into another bill, but I would love to encourage there to be legislation that would be similar to the firemen and first responders bill. There is a bill that passed about 4 years ago that basically said if you're a firefighter, first responder, and you come down with cancer, it's automatically covered under your workers' comp, because they say that they have so much exposure in their line of duty that to then try to go to cause and effect, they basically are just saying it's carte blanche. You don't have to fight it. If you're a firefighter, first responder, it's covered. But I believe that we need the same type of legislation that if you were shown to be working in a hospital or working in a healthcare setting and you were there on the front lines fighting COVID, we shouldn't have any questions whatsoever. And see, George, he worked on that bill. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. And man, these are the types of things that I spend my life fighting for, prior. And I think that we all need to have the same support for, people that whose lives have been changed. So that would be Mel and Charlie, when Charlie's coming back. It's just going to give us future discussions to support the people whose lives have been affected by that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, that's where I know Village is small, but, we all have a voice. And, I think it's been mentioned more recently than when we first started about the influence that you have as a voter as you go out in this campaign season, this election season. When you are thinking about candidates, ask that question. Do you support legislation? Will you support legislation? Will you introduce a bill that will benefit our healthcare workers? Will you introduce a bill that will assist frontline workers during COVID to have a much easier path to getting compensated for their injuries that they got? That's where we have a say. That's where it lies, in us. And for those that cannot answer, if anyone tells you, well, don't vote them. That's it. Vote for someone else, because that's what it's going to take, right? It's going to take legislation. We all see the power of the executive branch, right? And when we have a legislative branch that isn't holding that branch, the executive branch, accountable, and there is no check and balance, then this is what we get. We get what we get. And that's where we have the power to change. So thank you, Doc and Doc. Appreciate you guys once again. For the Village, thank you for checking on us earlier than tomorrow night. Just remember, guys, the Village is an ohana that we want to spread aloha. I apologize for getting a little frustrated tonight, but really, guys, we do this out here every 3 nights a week to benefit everyone, and we want to make sure that we can continue to do that. I don't want to get into a situation where I contact a guest and they say, "Nah, man, we ain't gonna go on that show no more." I appreciate you, Doc, being a good sport, but I just want to make sure we provide a safe environment for not just the village but for our guests. Holy crap! See, I get PTSD, and those things. I know I do, and those things make me jump. And maybe I can claim. Am I gonna work comp? Cannot. I'll come see you to write my doctor excuse letter, Doc. Anyway, you folks, you guys take care. Enjoy the rest of the week. We'll see you guys back on Friday. We love all of you. Stay safe, guys. And tomorrow, let's all go out tomorrow and do a random act of kindness. Okay, random act. And on Friday, when we come back on Friday, you get to share your random act of kindness in the comments, and we will share. Let's do that. Let's everybody do that tomorrow. All right, guys. You guys take care. God bless. We love you guys.